が消えかかるそれがオレンジャー熱い血流れる鋼のマシン
Welcome to the Super Sentai Brothers. This is episode 39 of For Your Eyes Ohranger, the internet's best and only podcast dedicated to Chouriki Sentai Ohranger. Every week we watch an episode of the show and we share our thoughts with you, the listeners. My name is Matt J, and with me, as always, is my co-host and brother Dave. Dave, how you do today?
Not bad, man. Having a pretty good day. Just kind of
nice. Just
kind of hanging, enjoying a Miller Lite, a fine
Dave,
Pilsner beer.
Can I be honest with you? I just cracked open a cold Miller Lite Pilsner beer myself.
Did you?
I
did. Cheers, bud.
Cheers to you.
Yeah, I've really come around. I know we've talked about this before. I've really come around on like chill beers, but in general, but like Miller Lite specifically, it's pretty decent beer, you guys.
Yeah,
like it's not amazing, but it is cold, and it's definitely better than Coors. Like we agree on that, right? Like Coors is not great.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, Miller is definitely better. I think Miller is my favorite giant brewery. Like of the big ones. I think Miller is my favorite.
Yes, I definitely prefer Miller to like Bud.
But I will drink Genesee first. Anyways, none of that is relevant. I just think it's fun that we're drinking the same beer.
Yeah.
Well, cheers, bud.
Cheers to you. Anyway, what we are doing together, Dave, as well, is we are watching episode 39 of For Your Eyes Ohranger. Dave, we're getting weirdly far into this show. I say weirdly because it doesn't feel like we're 39 episodes into a show, right?
I do kind of keep waiting for it to like really get started.
Yeah, like it still feels like the new one. It feels like we haven't been doing it for a year.
Yeah, no, it's very strange. Which is weird. We've actually been doing it for more than a year because we've subbed in, just because of my crazy life. We've subbed in an unusual number of episodes for our standard stuff this year. Like, we wouldn't be done, but we would definitely be a few weeks ahead of where we are. And it still feels like the new show. It's going to be very weird when we're done with it, I think.
Right. Although I am looking forward to Car Ranger. But Dave, we're not into Car Ranger yet, because as I said, today we've got episode 39 of Ohranger. It is called The Prince Dies in a Duel, so that sounds like a real bummer.
Does it?
Well,
I was actually real excited about this episode.
I guess we'll see. But before we get into that, of course, as always, shining in the heavens, there are 5 stars. What is our first star of the week?
So our first star of the week, Matt, is Beth and I were sitting around the other day, and we just the babies were down, and we had a few minutes, and we're just kind of cruising around YouTube, and we find this video of old commercials from the 80s, like 80s and 90s commercials. And first of all, it was pretty wild, because I remembered like a surprising number of them, okay? And you wouldn't think like watching commercials was fun. It actually was kind of fun just because it was like weird and nostalgic. Also, watching the compressed time shift from like mid to late 80s into early to mid 90s is buck wild. Because the 90s were very, very strange. Like, very strange.
Oh, yeah.
Especially coming out of the 80s. Like, guys, if you're not old enough to kind of... Only 90s kids will remember... And, it was very, very weird. Anyways, that's not what I actually wanted to talk about, although I do recommend that you go back and watch some old commercials. But it made me think about some other old stuff, and I was thinking about the anime version of Grimm's Fairy Tales that was on Nickelodeon.
Oh,
when we were kids.
I haven't seen that in a very long time, but in my recollection, it was very good.
It is very good. So I went, and one of the things I really liked about it was the theme song, and we're going to talk more about that in a second. I'm kind of on a tear today about this sort of thing, but so I'm watching this, I'm watching the intro to this show, this anime. It's Grimm's Fairy Tale, so it's European. But it's like in anime cartoons that are retelling those stories. So it's, it's anime.
Right. So
and I'm watching it.
It's an American sub or dub version.
It's an American import of a Japanese show
that's based on European folktales.
Yes. And so I'm watching this thing, and the credits are rolling as the theme song is playing. And who is the executive producer of this show but Haim Saban?
Oh.
So, which, I had no idea that's basically that, taking Japanese stuff and importing it for an American audience, that's just kind of this dude's thing, well before Power Rangers.
Oh, dude. Haim Saban rolls deep on, bringing stuff over and translating it.
See, I had no idea. I kind of thought he was a television exec and was he discovered Sentai somehow.
He was originally a
this
music
is not a
guy,
fluke for
actually.
Him. Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, he was in the music industry. There's an episode of some podcast that I don't remember what it was called. It's just a long interview with him about how he got around to how his career developed and how he got around to creating the Power Rangers. And
dude,
it's one of those
that would
things.
Side note, if I may. Side note, that would be a fascinating podcast. I would listen to a podcast that was nothing but interviews with people who have very strange and very specific jobs. That is just a story of please tell me how you became this thing. Because there's no degree or professional job training for whatever the heck it is you are. So how did you end up as a dynamite technician or whatever?
That would
Anyways,
be interesting.
Please continue.
Because there are shows like that, but the people who are on those shows are not dynamite technicians. They are Haim Saban. They're always successful business people or creators.
Right. I'm not interested in necessarily how successful you are. I'm really interested in the weirdness of your job. Please continue.
Oh, anyway, the interview with Haim Saban is weird, of course, because the whole time he just putting himself over.
TM, by the way. Nobody steal that idea. That's
the whole
legal document now.
So the whole time, Haim Saban is just putting himself over and telling you what seemed maybe are half truths, but that is the official story.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not going to get the full and complete biography of Haim Saban from this interview, but there is some interesting stuff in it. And part of it is he had wanted to bring the Power Rangers over to America a few years before he actually ended up doing it.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, I think this is something that gets talked about a lot more on actual Power Ranger podcasts as opposed to Sentai ones. But there was a he shopped that concept around for a while before it actually became
before anybody bit on it.
Yeah, before it was the thing that we know. And there's actually a pilot with most of the same actors in it.
No kidding.
That, never went to air, yeah.
Wow, I would love to. It's got to be floating around the internet somewhere, right?
I'm sure you can find it.
Yeah, so that's, I don't know, our very brief history of Haim Saban.
Yeah. And also, if you can find that old Grimm's Fairy Tale
let us
show
know,
song,
please.
It was great. And even tell us about it, sure, but if you can find it, just watch it. I'm sure some of it's on YouTube. Anyway, Dave, what is our second star of the week?
Yeah, so I'm watching. Actually, Mark, can you pull some of the audio for this just so we can hear? Not enough to get us sued by anybody, just so that people can hear the kind of the first opening beats of this. It's a very, very good theme song.
It's extremely pleasant.
So anyways, whether you've heard this thing or not, it's just great. And that leads me into my second point. Or our second star, I guess. Theme songs from cartoons in the 80s and 90s are bangers. And theme songs from cartoons today suck real bad.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the difference is.
Here's something...
I only have one theory as to the difference. And it's actually, remember I said I was talking about commercials. Every commercial in the 80s and 90s all had jingles. Commercials don't really have jingles anymore. There's a backbeat or there'll be a little music happening, but not an actual jingle. Aside from McDonald's, right. I'm loving it, which hardly counts.
Right, I will for my entire life remember the commercial for the Skip It because I like that song is just permanently lodged.
You know
into
what
my
other
brain.
song you remember that you don't remember? You didn't remember the jingle for the whatchamacallit candy bar. You can hear it right now, can't you? Everybody who's our age can hear it. I'm sure.
I actually
Really?
can't, Dave. No, I can't take a whatchamacallit. But it's only...
No?
Thingamabob, gobbledygook, what's its face? Whatchamacallit, whatever it is, whatever it was. Chocolatey chocolate. Whatchamacallit, how's it go? Wowzum do, chew-gooey caramel. Whatchamacallit, doohickey, you know what I mean. Peanutty crispies. Chewy, chocolatey, crunchy, do that, let's get a Marie. More than a mouthful. It's whatchamacallit. Whatchamacallit.
Oh, yeah, there it is. I think the only reason I couldn't immediately think of it is because my brain was then, like, preloading the next thing I was going to say, which was the bubble tape commercials.
Oh, yeah!
It's the truth! Your principal can't smile, can't swim, can't rap, and I can't stand bubble tape. Your school bus driver can't drive, wears curlers, makes funny noises, won't try bubble tape. No way, Jose! Bubble tape, it's 6 feet of bubble gum for you, not them.
Also, very, very weird. I just saw
Bubble tape
it.
commercials are unsettling.
Like, deeply bothering. Okay, but anyways, so, dude, if...
Okay, here are 3 things I want to comment on this. First of all, I think that you're right that the old cartoon theme songs were better. I don't think the old cartoons were better. I think cartoons have only gotten better with time.
No, the cartoons themselves were not better. Like, I like them because there is, like, an element of nostalgia.
But
the theme songs were unequivocally
because I think
superior.
especially when we were kids, most cartoon shows were specifically designed to be toy commercials. So, like, the theme song and the animation for the opening sequence were of such a higher quality than everything else that happened in the episodes.
Like, exponentially
because that's
better.
really all they needed. They needed, like, something really, really catchy. They made it one time. That got you hooked in. And then you were spending the next, like, 6 years of your life buying, like, the weird 4th-tier character action figures for the Ninja Turtles.
Yes, that definitely did happen, especially characters that were never even on the show. But even the Ninja Turtles theme song is not, I feel, the high point. Like, dude, the Centurions theme song?
In the near future, Doc Terror and his cyborg companion Hacker unleash their forces to conquer Earth. Only one force can stop this evil, a handful of brave men. In specially created exobrains, they can be transported anywhere to fuse with incredible assault weapon systems beamed down from the space station Skyvault, becoming man and machine power extreme.
Centurions was great. Actually, do you know who, like, wrote and produced a lot of these, like, not a ton, but not an insignificant number of these theme songs?
I do not.
You may be surprised to learn that it was Haim Saban.
Ah, no kidding. Okay.
Yeah, dude,
great.
like, Haim Saban and Shuki Levy, who is a guy who worked extensively on the Power Rangers show as well, like, they either wrote and produced or whatever, like, a handful of very, like, songs that you know. Let's see. They did the songs for Inspector Gadget.
Okay.
Here's Mask.
Did they?
He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. She-Ra, Princess of Power. They did one for
Mask,
a show.
I think, is the high point right there, but Inspector Gadget is also very good.
That Mask song rules. They did something for a show called Jace and the Wheeled Warriors that I have never heard of.
Never heard of that one. I do really also love the theme song for Visionaries, Knights of the Magical Light.
That's
very, very good.
Light.
Yeah, the Transformers theme song also rules.
Yeah, I mean, we can just...
we can just talk about all these.
Right, this is a dangerous well to fall down, especially when not all of our listeners are exactly our age.
That's a very good point. But if you can't, if you don't believe me, just go back and you can just hop on YouTube and just do a search, best 80s theme song cartoons, or cartoon theme songs, and yeah, they're all straight bangers. They're amazing.
Yeah.
You should just go listen to them.
Anyway, Dave, what is our third star of the week?
So our third star of the week is another thing from the 80s, sort of, kind of. It's actually started in the late 80s and now has a new thing, is Cyberpunk 2077. I know I've talked about this game in the past.
Yes, but it still hasn't come out, so we're still talking about it every once in a while.
Right, yeah. And, well, the thing I wanted to talk about just recently is that CD Projekt Red has just released a 45-minute, gameplay trailer for this thing.
What,
now,
Dave,
it's not
Dave,
actually...
hold on. You should have warned me that we were getting into Trailer Watch.
Trailer Watch.
Do we have a song for that?
We've definitely got a sting for it.
Okay, good. I was going to say, what have you done to Mark?
No.
We have to stop putting this on him.
No, he already made a Trailer Watch thing.
Okay, good. Yeah. So Trailer Watch.
Trailer Watch.
Yeah, so it's it's like a 45-minute, this is an actual gameplay.
That's a long
trailer.
time.
Yeah, I did watch the whole thing.
You could watch most of a movie in that time, or at least half a movie.
Like a half of a shortish movie.
You could
yeah,
watch
it
two
took me
episodes
like a few...
of Brooklyn Nine-Nine in that time.
That's true. It took me like a few lunch breaks, because I eat and then I watch something for a few minutes and then I just grade papers over my lunch. And so it's, first of all, it looks incredible. But it's also it's very cool because this is, they say it's not done and we have a few months left to smooth some stuff out. But yeah, it's 45 minutes of gameplay. It's pretty polished. So highlights of this game. First of all, obviously, visually, it's fantastic.
Sure.
I feel like they absolutely nailed the aesthetic of Cyberpunk.
Now, when you say they nailed the aesthetic of Cyberpunk, I have a very important clarifying question. Do you mean they nailed the aesthetic of the idea of Cyberpunk, or do you mean that they have nailed the aesthetic of the beautifully conceived but almost unplayable tabletop role-playing game R. Talsorian's Cyberpunk 2020?
So here's what I'll say, is that, as you have said, the beautifully conceived and yet almost unplayable R. Talsorian's tabletop RPG Cyberpunk 2020 is in fact set in 2020. This is Cyberpunk 2077. So it is set a number of years, in the future from that core setting.
Okay.
But I feel like they have done a great job of maintaining a level of purity, I think, to the source material, while at the same time it's not just a pure kind of 80s retro futurist nostalgia trip. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So there are things that are oh yeah, rad, that's totally Cyberpunk. And there are other things that are kind of updated, so that it doesn't look sort of visually goofy. So the gameplay looks super amazing. One of the things that looks really incredible about it is the degree of freedom that you have. It's a really, really open world. And you've got a bunch of different ways to deal with all of your problems. It's even more open world than Witcher 3, which is obviously CD Projekt Red's last big thing. It's really just looks open and fluid, and you can kind of go anywhere you want and do anything you want. And Bethesda, for real, CD Projekt Red is coming for your neck in no small way.
Have they are they eating their lunch a bit?
Yeah, a little bit, dude.
Well, hey man, listen, if that means that I get to play another game like that, and I don't just always have to wait another 4 years for whatever the next either Elder Scrolls or Fallout game is, I will be thrilled. And I'm sure our listeners will also be thrilled, because that will mean that we won't have to do 6 different entries in the 5 stars on Fallout 4. We can pepper in some other stuff.
Yeah, it'll be very exciting. So anyways,
We
like, I'm
don't
not
play
going to
that
walk
many
through
video games.
I'm not going to walk through this trailer in enormous detail, but like, for real, CD Projekt Red just crushes it real hard. Have you played? I mean, dude, like, have you played Witcher 3 yet?
No, I haven't.
Oh, you got to. I'll lend it to you. Oh, that's right. I was going to give it to you, and then I was going to play the DLC, and then I never did because I have babies. But anyway, yeah, no. I'll give it to you. You should play it.
What I love, David,
it's incredible.
Is that you have been excited about Cyberpunk 2077 for so long that it is like a semi-regular feature on this podcast. You've been into it for so long that you got into the idea of playing the game before you stopped playing video games, and now you don't play video games anymore, but you did spend 45 minutes watching a gameplay trailer of a game that you probably aren't going to buy because you don't play video games.
Well, I have a complicated relationship with video games at this point, Matt, is what I'll say. Actually, speaking of, what is our 4th star of the week, Matt?
4th star of the week is video games, Dave. I still play it.
Cool.
And I got the new Tomb Raider, and it's very good.
Oh, you were excited about that.
Yeah, Tomb Raider, like, there are some...
I feel like Tomb Raider's really turned a corner.
Oh, dude. The recent, what is now trilogy of Tomb Raider games made by Square Enix are, like, unrecognizable from the earlier series. Like, seriously, it went from a game that I could not care less about to maybe, like, one of 3 series that I actually get excited to play.
Wow.
Like, I get excited to play whatever the new, like, main Nintendo titles are. So, like, if there's a new Mario, if there's a new Zelda, if there's a new Metroid, like, I am into those.
Yeah, of course.
If there's a new Mario Kart, you know I'm going to get down. But other than that, like, the game series that I really get excited about playing, and listen, sometimes I am disappointed by them in both gameplay and narrative senses, but the 2 that I get really excited about now are Far Cry and Tomb Raider, and that's kind of it. And, like, I'm only a few hours into this new one, but it's, it is, at least so far, extremely good and fun, and the puzzles are great and, like, just tough enough to, like... They're not so difficult that you feel like the game is punishing you, but they are difficult enough that you feel, like, clever and accomplished when you finish them.
I feel like there's really the cutoff for any puzzle. Like, even a jigsaw puzzle. Like, it's meant to be solved. You're supposed to be able to solve it.
Yeah, like, but these games just do a very good job of making you, the player, feel like you are very good at what you're doing, and making... the main character seem like she is like a, like, you know, like no one else can really be doing what she's doing. Like, it feels like cool and special, especially since this is like the 3rd game in that series, and she's like kind of gotten to that point in the progression. And, like, I don't know, if you like Tomb Raider games, play the new one. It's a new Tomb Raider game. It's a lot of fun. It's kind of all I've been doing today.
That sounds
this isn't
super,
like
super
a really
bad.
thrilling star, I'm gonna be honest, but it's the other, like, the things I've done today are not get around to watching Hell in a Cell, play Tomb Raider, and record this podcast, so we have to talk about Tomb Raider, because that's all I got.
So, no, that sounds super, super cool. What, Matt, is our 5th star of the week?
5th star of the week, Dave, is the slow progression of time. We have been doing this podcast for over 4 years now.
Yeah, chronologically, yes.
Yes. I mean, those are the years I'm talking about. The chronological ones.
Well, as opposed to, like, years of the show or whatever.
Yes, we have not finished our 4th season, but we have been doing it for more than 4 years. Here's why that's significant, Dave. We got headphones when we started doing this, like recording headphones that go over your ears and have, like, soft, plushy bits around the outside.
Cans, Matt, is the industry term.
We got some sick cans.
I was going to say, if you could be at least, like, vaguely professional about this.
Anyway, and we have now been doing the show for so long that mine are starting to disintegrate.
Super hot. Silverhawks. Oh yeah, that's a bummer.
Now here's the way in which they are disintegrating.
Silverhawks.
Dave, I am trying to tell you something. Stop singing the Silverhawk song. I swear this is not the first time we've had to have this conversation specifically about the Silverhawks theme song.
Okay, I understand that. But have you listened to that song recently? It's very, very good.
It's extremely good, but it cannot be pleasant for our listeners to listen to me try to say a thing while you kind of sing Silverhawks.
Anyways, so tell me about your dying headphones. Sorry, cans. Tell me about your cans.
Anyway, the way that they're falling apart is that there is like sort of a black coating on the plushy bit that covers the ear.
Yeah, it's that sort of like rubbery, plasticky. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And that is starting to like disintegrate and flake off. And since it's still hot out, anytime I sit down to record, like, I am sweaty, which means that when I take these things off of my head, I just have like bits of headphones stuck to my ears and neck. And like, it's one of those things I desperately need to replace these because I think I managed to wash it all off. Because I like have to like wash my head after I do a podcast now. I'm replacing these like within the week probably. But last week I was at work and someone was like, "Hey Matt, you've got a little like, I don't know, were you like painting or something in the house? You have just like black things on you, like at work in a like at where I like do my job." So it's just a sign of the slow progression of time and the decay of all physical things. Dave, speaking of the death of physical things, we are going to watch episode 39 of Chouriki Sentai
nice.
Ohranger. It is called The Prince Dies in a Duel, and we will be right back. Okay, welcome back. So we have finished watching episode 39 of Chouriki Sentai Ohranger, The Prince Dies in a Duel. And yeah, it's pretty much what it says on the tin.
It is, yeah. It's a very, very good episode. Like, the pacing on this episode was fantastic. Like, we got to the end of it, and I didn't realize that we were already at the end of the episode. Like, I was just waiting for the next scene to start, and then I was like, that's it. That's the whole thing. So, really, I think a high point, but not as far as, like, a big story points necessarily. Like, crazy things are happening. But I think as far as just an episode of television goes, a real high point for this series. I thought it was just like a really well-paced, energetic episode. And
so also, there are a lot of crazy story things happening in this one.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like, there are very good story things happening. I guess I don't know. It's just wasn't what I was thinking about in that particular instant. So let's just get started. This is It felt like it was going to be a Shohei episode. It actually isn't. It just starts with him, and he is out boxing and jogging, and he's got like a towel around his neck, and he's throwing some shadow punches. He is out for an exercise. Out for an exercise? Yep, sure, he's out for an exercise.
Yeah, man, why not?
I didn't sleep a lot last night, so that's a thing. And so he looks up into the sky, and he's sort of talking to himself, and he says, he's like, we haven't seen Paranoia recently. So however long it's been since the last episode, like, clearly there's been like a minute. All right.
Yeah.
And he says, we haven't seen Paranoia recently, but we know they're still there. So this is just a good time. Like, I'm kind of staying loose. I'm staying limber.
Yeah, and plus, it's a good time for him not only to get in shape, but to, like, do some community stuff. So, like, he stops off at a grocery store where apparently he is friendly with the family who works it. And he just has, like, a grocery store montage where he is helping people, like, bag their groceries and get all their stuff. And then he slips back into his inner monologue during this montage. He's like, Paranoia, we will be ready for you. But he slips.
And then he literally looks up into the sky and shakes his fist at the heavens.
But he's still holding a bag with somebody's cucumbers in it, and they have walked away because he forgot to give it to them. So he has to, like, stop in the middle of his dramatic monologue and run after someone to give them their vegetables back. It's very good.
This is an element I really dig about Super Sentai. I really love the community element of it, and I mean this is true of Power Rangers as well, that they just know people around, and like they stop off at the coffee shop, and they know the coffee shop guy, and he's running by the greengrocer, and like the Rangers don't have necessarily jobs as such. Like they don't have day jobs. Like you're kind of on call all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I guess for the Ohrangers, the same way as it is for the Jetmen, like their job is Ohranger, right? Like they are employed by the
right.
military.
But like Shohei's got the time to stop off and like help this dude bag some groceries.
Yeah.
Little stand. I dig it.
It's really nice.
So we go from there to the moon, to a much less pleasant scene, which is...
We're diving right into the heart of some messed up stuff here.
So what is happening is that the Imperial, they're not really royal, they're Imperial. The Imperial family is being assaulted by Bara soldiers. And what's happening is that Bomber the Great is making his move. Like he's sort of, I guess, been laying groundwork for the last period of time, but like now he's ready to go.
Yeah.
And he is making his play for the throne.
It's actually very good because this answers a question that I have had for the last 2 episodes, which is, once Bomber the Great showed up and killed Bacchus Wrath, why did he let Empress Hysteria and Bulldont live, right? Like, it's not like he's a good guy who refuses to... Like, oh no, like I'm honorable and I'm not going to kill this woman and child. Like, no man, Bomber the Great is definitely a stone cold murderer. So why hasn't he murdered the rest of the Imperial family? And this episode actually gives us the reason.
Incredibly, it does. And it turns out the reason is so that he can basically solidify the legitimacy of his claim to the throne.
Yeah.
So he comes out, which is such a weird... Like, that's just such a weird element to have included, that, like, he didn't just take over, that, like, they deal with the concept of there being rules of imperial succession in their imaginary robot space empire.
Right, it gets into, like, courtly intrigue stuff.
Okay, so what actually happens is that Bomber the Great comes out, and Acha and Kocha are back on his side, which I'm going to mention every time those two jerks switch sides because it's hilarious every time, to me. So Bomber the Great, like, kind of summons Acha and Kocha, and who he refers to as Little Kocha, which I dig, and he says, like, okay, read the Constitution, because apparently there's a Constitution. And he opens it up, and it's the size of, like, a greeting card. It's apparently a very short Constitution. This might literally be the only thing in it.
Well, it says it's this, like, I think it says it's the 2nd or 3rd Amendment of their Constitution.
Oh, so maybe this is just the little, like, if you go to, like, the Baranoia Independence Hall, they give you, like, a free copy of the Baranoia Constitution and Amendments.
This is maybe not even the full Baranoia Constitution. This is maybe just the Baranoia Bill of Rights.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Although, actually, I think prop-wise, this is the exact same thing that Acha and Kocha had in the first episode when they were reading the announcement from Bacchus Wrath.
Listen, man, I remember a very early episode of Power Rangers where Bulk and Skull used a remote control that, if you paused it, was very definitely made out of Legos. So, if these folks made an actual metal prop with, like, gear letters on it, you go ahead and use that more as many times as you want. So what they say is that if the Emperor, this is in the Constitution, that if the Emperor dies, they have 100 days to name a successor. And if a clear successor has not been named, which I guess hasn't been because Bomber the Great has made a claim for it. So, like, if the claim, I'm extrapolating here, like, they don't say all of this. If the claimants have not resolved this via some other means in the space of 100 days, then they duel to the death, and the winner becomes the new emperor.
Yeah. So when Bomber the Great killed Bacchus Wrath, that was him sort of staking his claim to be the emperor. And I guess he could have just killed Empress Hysteria and Bulldont and said he was the emperor, but that would have been sort of, you know, like, it would have worked, but there probably would have been people within the Baranoia Empire that said, oh, like, you're not really the emperor, you just, like, killed the royal family. And so he kept
Imperial
them
family,
alive
thank you.
He kept him alive for 100 days so that he could trigger this like duel scenario, beat Bulldont, and then like legitimately take the throne.
Yeah, which is a kind of bravo.
Yeah.
Bomber the Great. So Hysteria's like, no, that's crazy. And he basically is like, shut up, it's the rules. And he just Sparta quicks Queen Hysteria. And he then challenges a child to a duel to the death, which Bulldont basically has no choice but to accept. He doesn't really accept so much as does manage to hold on to a sword while this adult robot kills him.
Right, like
which is
Bomber
what
the
happens.
Great just throws a rapier at him, and it's like, okay, it's time.
Oh yeah, they do duel with rapiers, by the way.
I mean, that is one of the two classic duel types. There's either rapiers or pistols at dawn.
I'm just saying they don't have like robo rapiers. Like these are very definitely just like prop rapiers from like a stage combat thing.
Oh yeah. And Bomber the Great just proceeds to murder Prince Bulldont in a very brutal fashion.
Yeah, it does not take him very... Like, I mean, Bulldont is a child. Just think about how long it would take you to beat a child in a fight.
Right, like he's a child
and
with
that's
eye
about
lasers.
how long it takes.
He's a child with eye lasers, and you might think, oh, he's not supposed to use those eye lasers. It's a duel. But it's at the end of this duel, Bomber the Great does turn into a missile and shoot himself at Bulldont to blow him into pieces. And when I say blow him into pieces, I mean that he destroys his body, his disembodied head flies across the room, lands next to his mother picks up the head, and then this is actually very similar to what happened with G2 and Jetman. We watch Prince Bulldont die from inside his own eyes, which is, like, listen, I know that we hate this terrible child, but this is still extremely rough.
It is, yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot that's happening. Now, I did think for a moment, and I'm going to guess that this is probably going to end up being the case, Bulldont is a robot. So... Right,
and we will actually get, by the end of this episode, like, the groundwork for the idea that just because he is only a disembodied head that has been shut down, that does not mean he is gone forever.
Yeah, like, you can just fix him. Like, it's okay. But he is very definitely a child that has been murdered. So that's not great. So anyways.
He also does curse Bulldont curses Bomber the Great with his dying breath. Like,
well, that's a good one. If you're going to curse somebody.
Yeah, like.
That's a real, that's some powerful hexen.
As dying breaths go, he got a good one.
Yeah. So the next thing that happens is that Bomber the Great has strapped Empress Hysteria to a rocket with the head of Bulldont and said, I'm not going to be so ungentlemanly as to kill you. However, I will send you to the edge of the universe so you can mourn your son, I guess, for eternity by yourself, again, at the edge of the universe.
Right. Bomber
and he
the
just
Great
sort of kicks this rocket, and that starts it, and then he launches her from the moon.
Yeah, this, like, Bomber the Great goes into some Game of Thrones stuff on this episode, and I've never watched Game of Thrones, so I'm having to assume this from some context cues from what I've talked to people.
No, I stopped watching a few seasons ago because it made me feel bad about, everything?
Everything, sure. But, I mean, in Game of Thrones, would it be out of place for...
Yeah, no, that would be totally...
kill the king... kill the prince, cut off the prince's head, strap it to the queen, and then send her off into, like, an irretrievable exile.
I think that actually does happen. That happens in, like, season 4, maybe. So he then has like a microphone. He's addressing the rest of Baranoia, and he's got this. I don't know why he has a microphone. He's got a microphone, and then in a very odd moment, Anja and Kocha sort of sneak in front of him and take the microphone from him, but not to speak, just to like hold it up for him as like a living mic stand, so that he can just start gesturing to the crowd.
There's some more stuff kind of like this later in the episode, and I do love it.
So he says, he's like, everything's going to be great, like, we're going to conquer Earth. And then that's over. And then Ach and Kocha say, boss, we love you. We love everything you're doing.
Obviously, Bomber the Great forever.
Bomber the Great forever. We're 100% on your team. Always have been from the beginning. But, don't want to be a downer, but Ohranger is still on Earth, and we have not managed to beat them yet. So, what's the plan?
And Bomber the Great is not troubled by this at all, because Bomber the Great actually does have a plan. And he opens up a little box and pulls out this thing, and it's like, okay, we are going to beat them with this dog statue. And it's like the statues of the lucky cat with the arm that's up that moves back and forth. You know the ones.
Yeah, well, yes, I do. They refer to it as a beckoning dog, so I assume that thing is a beckoning cat.
Yes, it is.
Which makes sense because it's waving at you. It is.
That is one of the ways in which that cat statue is referred to.
Oh, okay. See, I did not know that.
I only know it because I Googled it while I was watching this episode.
Hey, thank you. So he says, he's like, I'm going to send this thing to Earth. You're going to see what the plan is. So then we obviously go to Earth, and we see this Barker, and it's Acha and Kocha in human form. And I did not realize that the voice actor that does Acha is real old, because we see him in this, we see him.
Is this actor the guy who does the voice for Acha?
How to say, I didn't look it up. It just very clearly sounded like him, and then the dude was talking, and then he turned into Acha. I assume it's not the suit actor, but I assume it is the same guy doing the voice acting. So he's calling people around, and he says, I got a deal for you guys. You're not going to believe it. Check this thing out. And he opens up the box, and he's got this solid gold dog. And he says, this is not an ordinary golden beckoning dog. He says, if you stroke this dog gently and think, I want to be rich, then you will become rich.
And the people are
how would this happen?
Come on, man. This is a stupid thing to tell me. You are dumb. This is a waste of my time. And he says, no, wait. And he pulls out the dog, and he pats it on the head and says, I want to be rich, I want to be rich. He puts the thing down, and little golden lasers come out of the dog's eyes. They zap a flower that is sitting on this table, and the flower turns into, it turns into a prop that's been spray painted gold. But in the world of the show, it has turned solid gold.
Yes. And everybody flips out, very reasonably so.
And he says, I've got one of these things. I'll sell it to one of you for 500 yen.
He says so there's only one.
Get it while it's hot. They, everyone starts grabbing for it. One lady, who is actually the sort of wife/mother character who was working at the grocery store earlier, manages to get it, gives them the 500 yen, and runs away while everyone else is sort of still in a big pile. And then they realize that she's got it, and they start chasing her.
Yeah, so she's flipping out. They're all flipping out. Run. It turns out this is the greengrocer from the beginning of the episode. This is his wife. So she whips around the corner, runs into the store, and is close the shutters. Because they've got those sort of metal front of store shutters. So their bottom is basically a little fort now. So she runs in, they close the shutters, and Shoei's actually in there with them, because of course he was helping with the groceries. So they shut the things, they run upstairs, and she says, you're never going to believe it. This is insane. This dog will turn stuff into gold. And her husband obviously says, that's crazy. She says, no, check it out. I want to be rich, I want to be rich, I want to be rich. And I think it turns a pencil into gold.
Yeah.
And so then obviously the husband also freaks out because it's turning stuff into gold. That's incredible.
And so they just start turning everything in their place to gold. They are immediately obsessed with this thing.
Yeah, and this is, it's something that I really dig because, obviously we're operating in the fiction of the show.
Sure.
But if you wanted to be rich, you don't actually, and you have a semi-limitless supply of gold, or an infinitely limitless supply of gold, you don't actually want to just show up someplace with 500 pounds of gold and try to sell it because it's going to do, like, gold is a commodity. It's going to, like, do weird things to the market. What you would want is just, like, have a golden pencil, and then you would sell that. And that, you know what I mean? Like, that's what you would do. But they don't do that. Like, they just flip out, and they start turning everything in their house to gold. This will become relevant later on in the episode.
So Shohei is in there, and he immediately thinks, like, oh, this is a weird thing. I need to report this in. It's probably paranoia. So he hops on his communicator. He reports it to base. Everyone else starts to get out that way.
Yes. So the rest of the Rangers, like, they arrive post-haste, but of course the whole place is locked down. The Rangers show up, and they're like, everybody chill out. Like, we don't know what's going on. Everybody just needs to calm down. They are roundly ignored. Goro manages to, I think maybe Shohei's just, like, watching for them. He opens up the bottom of the thing. The Rangers slip in, but then other people start to get in as well. It seems as though they were about to like overrun the place, but I think the Rangers kind of managed to hold them off.
Yeah, like they kind of managed to like make a human barricade to keep the rest of the people sort of in the hallway as Goro and Shohei go in to look at this dog. And like they are all like, you know, just trying to get past because of course they have got the gold madness.
Yes. So we go upstairs and we have seen that the mom and dad have turned basically everything in their house to gold. And I keep waiting for the Midas moment where like the kid gets turned into gold. And they do a pretty good job because I keep thinking I'm like, it's in my notes like 4 different times. Like, oh, and now is where the kid gets turned into gold. And then he doesn't. So they faked me out. So good for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of faked you out for a while.
Oh, yeah, no. Somebody eventually obviously does turn into gold. I kept thinking it was about to happen, and then it didn't happen right then.
Yeah.
So they go upstairs. The parents have turned everything into gold. And the dog has we see the dog, and it grows. Like, the dog gets larger.
Yeah.
And there was like, listen, I'm not sure what's going on, but this is really definitely a problem. Like, you need to give us this thing. Like, we don't need the money. That's not what we're saying. Like, this is obviously a paranoia plot. Dogs don't turn things into gold. Like, that's not a thing that happens.
Right. But
so the kid comes over.
And the grocers are like, no, you were just trying to steal our riches. Like, we're the special people, not you.
So, which is basically what happens when you get a bunch of money. So the kid comes over and he says, Mom and Dad, I can't believe this. You're being blinded by all of these riches. You need, like, the Rangers are just here to help. We know that paranoia is very definitely a problem. Like, you need to, like, stop being so crazy. Like, what is going on? So they kind of wrestle for the dog. And this is where I thought the kid was going to get turned into gold. He doesn't. But then the people kind of get inside, and there's just kind of a scrum, basically, for this golden dog. And a dude that is not in the family, like a dude gets it and starts running away, and then he gets tackled, and some other people are trying to get it. And it just starts shooting the gilding beams everywhere.
Yeah, so
the vegetables are getting turned into gold. Everybody's excited. Like, the stand is getting turned into gold. There's like golden carrots and golden tomatoes.
Yeah, and the grocer, the husband/father of the grocer family, he's like, oh man, this apple has been turned into gold. And then immediately the dog's eye lasers shoot one more time and hit the dad. And the dad turns into gold and just falls over backwards. Although, weirdly, his clothing does not turn gold.
Yeah, I did get a really big kick out of the fact that they did not... Like, they didn't make a statue or anything.
Yeah, they just spray painted this guy, put him back in his regular clothes, and pushed him over backwards. And the lasers sort of go haywire, and the husband falls over, and the son runs over. It's like, oh my gosh, like, Dad... You're maybe dead now. I don't know. And his wife looks down and sees that he has been turned into a statue and fallen over. And she's like, oh man, that's bad. See ya later. Gotta go get this dog.
Better go get this golden dog statue. I do definitely still need it. So people are like, they're running, they're chasing, they're trying to get this statue, like run, chase.
And as they're doing
this is
this,
happening,
the dog is continuing to grow.
Yeah, now it gets ridiculously large, and they are still able to carry it.
I mean, it's okay. I mean, in the fiction of the show, it is solid gold. In the real world, it is a big hollow, like, papier-mâché dog that has been spray painted.
Well, yeah, no, Matt. I mean, I'm aware that they did not, in fact, acquire a solid gold dog statue for the purposes of filming this episode. They just make it very large before, like, the people are unable to carry it.
That's magic.
So, there you go. It's magic. And so eventually this thing, like the Rangers are trying to intercept it. They're failing. Eventually it is too large. Like at this point, it is the size of like, I don't know, an SUV, I would say.
Yeah, thereabouts.
And then everybody is rubbing on it and being like, I want to be rich. I want to be rich. I want to be rich. And so I don't know who gets the gold at that point if you're all rubbing it, but
I don't know, man. They have all gone gold mad. Like, yeah, this thing is just zapping things. It's turning park benches into gold. People are walking by and seeing that things are being turned into gold, and they're getting it on the app.
We totally missed something.
Yeah, there's one person who's not here though. One person who's having a real difficult time making his way from the grocery store to the park, and that is our old buddy Shohei.
Yeah, because his legs got golderized.
Yeah, he got hit in the leg, and it didn't turn all of him gold. It just turned his legs gold.
Which I'm not sure why the dad got 100% golden, and then Shohei. Maybe it's the Chouriki power.
Yeah,
blocked it. There you go. So
the grocer's son is trying to like help Shohei prop himself up so Shohei can like limp his way over to the park so that he can help. But in the meantime, they are down a Ranger, which means, of course, that they can't, like, do their best moves.
Yeah, and so everybody's flipping out. They've all got, as Matt says, the gold madness. And it is only now, like, where Goro realizes, he's like, ooh, like, I knew that this was bad, but I suddenly realized, like, kind of how terrifying this power is. And then that we saw it once before. It's like this weird video projector bird robot shows up. And it projects just like a screen into the sky. And Bomber the Great says, hey, it's me, Bomber the Great the First. Like, because I'm the Emperor now. I've taken over the Baranoia Empire. And my conquering of Earth, like my conquest of Earth, is going to look totally different. Because I'm not even going to fight you guys. I'm just going to let you... I'm gonna let you hoist yourselves by your own petard.
Yeah, like
as the saying goes.
This dog is powered by human greed, which is the most powerful thing on Earth. It will continue to turn everything gold until it has turned all of the food gold, and it's turned all of the water gold, and you will all like starve and die of thirst. And that is how I will take over Earth. And I will take over a beautiful, pure golden planet with none of you jerks on it.
And there was a really, which, you know, when you see everybody with this statue, like, BTG's kind of got a point. And there is a really great shot of people wandering around in, like, a small landscape that has been entirely painted in gold, and there's just, like, gold glitter shooting out of a faucet. It was a very good idea. So it is definitely, like, you know, it was very easy to call, but it is definitely a Midas plan.
Oh, yeah. Now, what is very cool about the fact that Bomber the Great is being projected by one of these bird cameras is we cut to the, like, rooftop where Bomber the Great is broadcasting this from, and the way he is being filmed is that Acha and Kocha are holding another one of these bird cameras, but they're using it as, like, a camcorder.
It's fantastic, and they're, like, right up in his face. Because what he's actually doing is filming a wrestling promotion.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is definitely, like, cutting a sick promo on the Ohrangers and humanity.
So, the Rangers transform. I don't really know what their plan is. I think they're just, like, defaulting. Like, well, this is bad, and so let's henshin.
Well, I think the
and
idea
then we'll
is that
figure
they
the
want
rest
to
out
destroy
later.
This dog. Like, if they can manage to destroy the dog before it turns the whole world into gold, then they're set.
Oh, yeah, no, of course. So, because they transform and then they just immediately summon the O-blockers. Like, they don't attack this thing with their regular weapons.
Right, but again, they can only summon 4 of them because Shohei's not there.
Yeah, so they summon the O-blockers, they jump in them, and they go to punch the robot. That doesn't work because the robot has a very powerful force field. And Bomber the Great laughs at them, but he's like, dude, were you not listening? This dog is powered by human greed. It's the most powerful force on Earth. Your pathetic robot punches are not going to be able to penetrate that force field. So they keep, like, they summon their weapons and they try to attack with their weapons. Like, that doesn't work. And then the dog starts shooting them with the beams, and O-blocker starts, the blocker robos, start turning into gold.
Right, but again, it's partially gold. And when they get turned into gold, they're like heavy and they're not, like, you know, their parts are not designed to be gold. So they're kind of like dragging their gold legs around and not really able to lift their gold arms properly.
Yeah. Oh, we are, period. This is being interspersed, by the way, with shots of Shohei sort of like dragging himself towards the fight.
Yes.
So we go from there to Empress Hysteria, who's still on this rocket, clutching the head of her son.
Heck yes. Let's talk about this.
So she all of a sudden hears telepathically the voice of what is clearly Bacchus Wrath, but she does not recognize it for some reason.
Yeah.
And it's just saying like, Empress Hysteria, bruh. And she's like, what's going on? What's going on? And then a tractor beam hits her from a planet that she's flying by and pulls her back to the planet. It's not totally clear what planet it is.
Yeah, it's not Earth and it's not the moon. It is another planet. So
the rocket's sort of like, it's a rough landing because it's like landing via tractor beam. So she goes over, she picks up the head of Bulldont and just sort of wanders into a cave. Like, she doesn't know where she is, but she's kind of following the sound of this voice.
Yeah, because the voice continues to repeat, like, Hysteria. It sounds exactly like that.
Yeah. So
exactly
she finds
like that.
Yeah. So she finds a secret room. Like, she goes down these stairs, and then a secret door opens, and there's like this crazy lab. And in the lab, in a tank of bubbling green liquid, is the head of Emperor Bacchus Wrath.
Yeah, dude, Bacchus Wrath got full-on Zordoned. Like, he is a head in a tube summoning people to his secret science lab to help him with his problems.
Yeah, so, like, that's the end of that. Like, we just, like, hey, what's up? Bacchus Wrath isn't totally dead, and then probably Bulldont isn't either for that same reason.
Right, like, if Bacchus Wrath can be a head in a tube, then since they still have Bulldont's head, they can probably save him.
He should be fine. Yeah, so then... And then we flip back to Earth.
They can save Bulldont.
Yeah, hooray. We flip back to Earth, and Goro says, like, to think that human greed could cause this much suffering. Which... I mean, Goro, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's...
Yeah, dude. Like, basically everything wrong with humanity is boiled down to humans are very greedy.
Yeah. And
like, it doesn't cover 100% of the terrible things that we do, but it's got to be like a solid 95.
Right. Money is not the root of all evils, but a love of money is a root of all kinds of evil. Right? Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice pull. So, and then we just get another quick shot of Shohei trying to make it to the fight, and that's the end of this episode.
Yeah, it ends with Bomber the Great being like, aha, Earth is mine, screw you guys. And that's basically it.
Yeah.
Now, normally, of course, this is the end of the episode, and this is the time where we would talk about where the Monster of the Week falls on the Creature Royale, but, they have not managed to destroy this beckoning dog of gold yet, so we can't really put it on the Creature Royale. Now, are there any other, to sort of fill up this time, Dave, are there any other points that you want to make about this episode? Because I've got one.
I can't think of anything. I thought it was a real good episode, but I sort of talked about that already, so...
Yeah. Okay, I got a question for you, Dave.
Hit me.
So, Bacchus Wrath really wants to conquer Earth because he's from Earth, and he, like, lost a war on Earth, and he got kicked out, and he had to go to space, and he spent, like, hundreds of millions of years rebuilding this entire, like, robot empire to come back and crush Earth, right?
Yes, that is...
Okay, why does Bomber the Great want to destroy Earth? Like, just 'cause? It doesn't seem that he has any motivation to continue the siege of Earth.
Here's the only thing that I've got is that he wants to be the Emperor of Baranoia. He is trying to cement his place. So maybe, like Earth is the Sparta of planets, right? Like his predecessor couldn't beat it. And so if he's the one who beats it, everybody's like, oh man, Bomber the Great, not only is he the legit emperor, he is in fact he is demonstrably better than Bacchus Wrath.
Yeah, okay. I mean, Sparta did definitely lose that war, but okay.
Well, yes, I know, but I'm not a classical historian, Matt.
That's cool, man. I got some books I can lend you. They're very good and extremely long.
I believe you. I definitely do not have time to read them.
That's fair. This is what we're here for, man. We're here to prop up each other's strengths. But I think, Dave, that is going to be the end of this episode of the Super Sentai Brothers, unless you have any objections.
Can't think of one off the top of my head.
Okay. Well, I guess we've reached a quorum then. No objections being raised. That's going to do it for another episode of For Your Eyes, Ohranger. Before we finish up here, I'd just like to remind you all that you can email the show at supersentaibrothers@gmail.com. If you want to get any updates on future episodes or check out the things that we're mentioning on Twitter, we are at Super Sentai Bros. If you like the show, and I hope that you do, please remember that shining in the iTunes review section, there are 5 stars. Rate, review, subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever it is that you find the show. That's going to direct new people towards the show, or so we have been led to believe. The Super Sentai Brothers are a production of Retrograde Orbit Radio. If you would like to listen to any of the other great Retrograde Orbit Radio shows, you can do so at retrogradeorbitradio.com or wherever it is that you find your podcasts. Once again, we are the Super Sentai Brothers. I'm Matt.
I'm Dave.
And we'll see you next week for the greatest show on Earth.